Every man lives, not every man truly dies.
I will not sacrifice the pride of Fenris. Made too many compromises already. Too many retreats. Stay in space, and we fall back. We assimilate entire worlds, and we fall back. Not again. The line must be drawn here, this far, no further, and I will make them pay for what they've done. In other words, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Fluffenhammer.
Oh, you did that deliberately, didn't you? Because I was talking about the Thousand Sons beforehand. You actually did the Fenris and Space Wolf thing deliberately, and now all I can sort of smell is wet dog. You know, it's sort of like, Space Wolves, mortal enemies, spit, not good.
I'm not going to lie to you. Basically, what I did there was I just realised as we started recording that I didn't actually have the usual cold open set up. And so my brain went to the first quote that's always in my brain at any given point, which is Star Trek First Contact.
But with a Space Wolf flavour.
But with a Space Wolf theme, yeah.
Ew. It is, you know, I'm such a Thousand Sons fanboy at the moment. I've even got, like, right now I'm looking at my desktop wallpaper, which is a Thousand Sons one. And, you know, I've actually developed a slight antipathy towards the Sons of Fenris, as you would. As you would, being a Thousand Sons fan. And, all my hackles have gone up. You know, if I had any hackles, because, of course, being a Thousand Sons player, I'm all dusty and mutated and weird, so, yeah.
Do you know how you stop Space Wolves from being mad and crazy and coming at you with a chainsword?
Booze, from what I understand.
Hosepipe. As everybody knows, the most affectionate creature in the world is a wet dog.
Vacuum.
So what? No. What you do is you get them all damp, and then they just start running at you to try and hug you.
So, like, a vacuum must be like a WMD to them. It must be like why have the Thousand Sons? Mind you, the Thousand Sons can't go near a vacuum, obviously.
No.
Because they're made of dust. So they found some commonality.
I'm just thinking of that bit at the end of Spaceballs where the ship turns into the woman with the giant vacuum cleaner.
So, like,
I need to find a screenshot of that and just have, meanwhile, above Fenris.
Oh, man. God, the enemies of, like, both Chaos and the Imperium are missing a trick there. Like, the Eldari and the Drukhari and the Necrons and the Tau. They're really missing a trick there. They could desolate two major enemies in one fell swoop if they just made a giant celestial vacuum cleaner. Yeah, that's what they should do. That's what they should go to Sorciarius with a big old vacuum cleaner.
I found a picture. Oh, I've got the stupidest idea in the world, and I'm so proud of myself.
Oh man!
Oh,
someone's got to have done it. Someone's got to have modelled somewhere, like someone who's chasing a space wolf around with a vacuum cleaner. Someone's got to have done it, or throwing a stick or a bone for them or something.
Oh, you know something? I think I've seen that.
Yeah, someone's got to have done it.
I am sure I have seen a space wolf like Ragnar Blackmane chasing a stick before.
Brilliance. Absolute brilliance. That's what they should... You know, forget the Inferno Bolters. Forget the Warp Flamers. They should just have rank upon rank of Rubricate armed with sticks. You know, all throwing in unison. Perfect synchronicity. And then the entire Space Wolf army yelps and just runs. Just flees to try and get these sticks. That's the way it should be done.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I love this as an idea.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's absolutely superb. I am not going to model any of my Shattered Suns with sticks, I'm afraid. It dilutes their gravitas.
A little bit, but on the other hand, if you had, for example, a Nurgle army for your 40k forces, you know, a little Nurgle detachment.
Yeah.
Nurgle's quite silly.
Yeah.
Sometimes. you could just like remove all of their weapons and replace them with
Well,
sticks.
actually, if you look at the Malignant Blightcaster, he's got a stick anyway.
He does. Yeah, well, there we
He's
go.
got a stick anyway. All you need to do is model him so it's just he's holding it back a little bit, so it looks like he's going to chuck it. Mm-hmm. That'd be kind of fun. Although, would you really want to fetch a stick that something dedicated to Nurgle had been holding? I don't think you would.
Do you know what I've just realised?
What's that?
We've done it again.
Well, rambling on and on and on and on about nothing in particular.
No, we haven't introduced ourselves. Hello, everybody.
Hi, hello. Yes, it's us again. In case you hadn't noticed.
Weirdly enough, it's only the people on Twitter that seem to get annoyed at this.
Oh, well, that's fine. Well, people on Twitter don't count. I didn't mean that. I did not mean that. Just for fear of alienating our audience.
We love all of our listeners.
Actually, we do. I mean, like
in a very Slaneshi manner.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, genuinely speaking, though, I mean, I'm overawed by like the kind comments that the Fluffenhammer gets. I'm really pleased that it seems to be. People seem to enjoy it. I mean, that was kind of the thing, wasn't it? Originally with the Fluffenhammer, we wanted like a less sort of dry podcast, you know, one that's a bit more fun, that's a bit sillier, that's a bit more dynamic. Hence the Fluffenhammer, you know?
Yeah, because we are fluffy people and we like to talk about fluff.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, I don't know about, I'm sure it's true for you, Adam, but like the role-playing element of the game is way more important than the wargaming element.
Yes, totally and utterly.
I mean, I like. I mean, they are going to be coming back. I've no doubt that we're going to be getting like the fantasy role plays again because they've just released one, haven't they?
They have, yes.
But I also imagine that since Fantasy Flight Games don't have the license anymore, which is kind of a shame. I liked their RPGs a lot. I imagine there will be a 40k one at some point.
Without going too far into the rumour mill and what the rumour mill says,
yes.
There is a certain words about how Dark Millennium is make a reappearance.
Oh, fingers crossed. You know, tendrils crossed. Every Zetian
all the parts
crossed.
of the flesh mops flipped over and crossed.
The one I played the most from Fantasy Flight was Black Crusade. Because that was awesome, where you got to play as a bad guy, essentially. You had like a band of bad guys. You were all like chaos worshippers. And you had these ragtag bands of players who, you know, some of them could be Chaos Space Marines, some of them could be sorcerers, some of them could be beast men or cultists. It was kind of fun and kind of unbalanced. It was one of those RPGs where there was no balance whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Because the people who obviously the people who played Chaos Space Marines were at a significant advantage against someone who played as a Chaos Cultist.
I wonder why that is.
Yeah, I mean the way you had to work it, and I was lucky because the guy who ran my campaigns was really good at this. The way he ran it was he always used to locate us on an Imperial planet, so the cultist would be the face of the group. They would go out and act like doing the subterfuge. They would engage with like the culture and the society, and the Chaos Space Marines would come out and be the muscle. So that's the way you play it, because obviously a Chaos Space Marine can't wander around in Imperial society incognito. It doesn't really work.
Can you imagine this Colin Berserker wearing a fedora?
Yeah.
like in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Just like twitching with the butcher's nails, trying to keep himself from massacring everything in sight. Just this massive guy in a trench coat, sort of like, skulls, blood, maim, kill.
Walking out the cinema after seeing Critters, it's just like, how do they keep getting away with making these films?
Kill, maim. You know, he's got like a twitch, so when he's talking to people, he's like, excuse me, I'd like to purchase, maim! Excuse me? Kill! Sorry, it's an impediment. I'm sorry. Burn! It would be so much fun. I mean, you could play that. If you wanted to have a slightly more comedy-style game, you could do that. I mean, the character I used to play was a Chaos Sorcerer. He was a Zetian Chaos Sorcerer. And he, fortunately, because of his illusionary abilities, he could walk out in the world. You know, he actually could. He could just swathe himself in an illusion and just walk out. But we had one guy who played a raptor. He played a Night Lord's raptor. And what he used to do, what he had to do was skulk at night time across the rooftops. He had to sort of play Batman, you know, which is kind of fun. It's kind of fun. I mean, the game system isn't perfect by any means, but it's quite good. It's quite good. You have this tension between corruption and your sanity. Essentially, the more you do, the more corruption points you get, and the more likely you're going to erupt with tendrils and devolve into a chaos spawn. So you have to be very careful the way you play it.
Yes.
Very careful. Because even if you're winning, you could be on the fast track to spawndom. It's really quite clever. And my guy, he came so close a number of times because he was a sorcerer, you know. So every time he casts a spell, essentially, you've got to look for corruption points. And Zeechan, you know, the Zeechan characters, their corruption tends to escalate quicker than the others, obviously, because, you know, they're dedicated to Zeechan. He likes making people erupt with eyes and tendrils and mouths that are unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
It's good fun, though. I do hope that they come out with another, a second edition of Black Crusade. You know, that would be awesome.
I think that, as I say, I called it Dark Millennium before, didn't I? That's actually the add-on pack for 3rd edition 40k that had all the psychic power stuff.
Oh, God, that's a nostalgia trip.
Wow.
I remember because I came into the game just shortly after that was released. So that was when it started to become really interesting.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you know this, but I'm an old man. God.
Yeah, you were Rogue Trader, weren't you? You were like...
Yeah,
the original stuff, you know. Which was more role-playing, wasn't it? It was more sort of role-playing, you know?
Well, it was a tabletop RPG... a tabletop wargaming game that had a Games Master attached.
Oh, God, yeah. So, I mean, I've got the old ROC books, the Realms of Chaos books, and I love reading them because they've got this real rawness to them.
Yes.
They've got, nothing's tempered yet. A lot of this stuff, it's stuff that's been set down for the first time. So it's all over the place. It's wacky, it's wild, it's very 1980s, it's very hair metal, you know?
Oh yeah.
But I don't understand how the game system works.
Do you want to know a secret?
I don't...
Nobody understood how... I mean... There's a reason it got absolutely restrung.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the thing is, it was bad enough before the ROC books came out. But when the ROC books came out, and you had these die 100 tables of mutations and chaos traits, and I don't know how anyone organised that. Because from what I can understand, from what I can see, in an ROC army, every miniature is like a character.
Yeah.
Every model in a unit has its own mutations, has its own equipment, has its own like hit points and stats that are all different from all the other models in the unit. So you've got an army of miniature heroes. It's
that's
mental.
Yeah.
How do you keep track?
With lots and lots and lots of paper.
It's bad enough now. I mean, I play Thousand Suns at the moment, and I love them. The way they work is great. But one of the trickier things about them is keeping track of what sorcerers have got what. Mm-hmm. So, like, what sorcerers have got what spells. You need to put like little counters next to them or something, you know. So how anybody did that back then? And I tell you what, the characters had a lot more in the way of spells and things back then. It's crazy. Every individual demonette, every individual pink horror had its own mutations. Every individual Death Guard miniature had its own fucking mutations and their own little like blessings of Nurgle. It's mental.
George, yeah, actually, I'm gonna talk about this. I think you'll like this. So, for those of you who are on the Patreon, you might have heard the almost ending now, actually, first season of Crawlhammer X Quest. Now, Crawlhammer X Quest is going to have 3 seasons, with the current heroes playing the game. Once this is done, another one that I've got in mind is what I'm going to be calling Crawlhammer Gamma Quest, which the name might change, which is me taking the Hero Quests, Warhammer Quest, Silver Tower thing, story and rule set, and ramming in another game. For this one, I rammed in Dungeon Crawl in order to get the full RPG feel.
Excellent.
For the other one, I'm going to be ramming in a game called Gamma World. right? Gamma World is a game built for mutations.
Okay.
And so it's going to be an all chaos army. Well, an all chaos RPG force. And I'm going to be using the Gamma World mutations rolls.
Brilliant.
If you've ever played Gamma World, you know how silly this is going to get.
So are we actually going to end up with some of the old school style mutations, like the silly walks, the big noses, the chicken legs?
One of the things I love about Gamma World is that character creation is keyword based.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So what you do is, for example, if you have Gamma World and all of its expansions, the first thing you've got to do is roll on the table to see which book you're rolling from.
Okay.
Okay. So your first roll, you've got book 2. Okay, brilliant. Book 2. Roll on the table. You are now giant. Okay, right. Okay, right. Roll again. Book 1. Okay. You are Yeti.
Okay.
You're a giant Yeti.
Fair enough.
And third one, and you open up the book. It's third book, right? And it's sticky. All right.
Big,
You're a giant sticky
Yeti.
And from that, the person who created this one, he created a giant, sort of larger than man-sized raccoon.
Fair enough.
And he was just like there, just dripping with like trash and
Sort of like a rejected Sega mascot.
pretty much. And it's stuff like that. The best one I ever saw was Wheeled Octopoid and Ancient,
Awesome.
right? Which then became an old god, an old one trapped in the body of a dodgem, and he was called Nalanatha Tank.
Awesome.
So this is how good Gamma World is. So I'm really excited about ramming that into.
Yeah, that sounds like lots of fun. That sounds like lots of fun, I've got to say. But I mean, I love the role-playing elements of these universes. I really do. It can be difficult. It can be really tricky because, as you brought up before, Khorne Berserkers. How do you role-play a Khorne Berserker? But it can be done. It can be done. The books provide. I mean, there is a Khorne-specific add-on to Black Crusade, as there are for all the gods. And I, by the way, guys, ladies and gents, they're a bit difficult to find now because Fantasy Flight are out of print, out of production. But if you can get them, those books are fantastic. They really are cool. They've got lots of detail and elaboration that you won't find in the Games Workshop specific stuff. Like worlds of Nurgle. Like this is one world of Nurgle that is covered completely in worms. Covered completely in them. And the main city travels across the world on the back of a giant spidery parasite thing.
Ooh.
It's like awesome. It's awesome. I love that stuff. But it gives you tips on how to roleplay these very particular characters. So how do you roleplay, for example, a Plague Marine? How do you roleplay a Khorne Berserker? And actually, a Khorne Berserker can have these really interesting tensions. As we were talking about before, maybe he's a Khorne Berserker that is trying to control himself. You know, that is fighting against the bite of the butcher's nails, but which erupts every so often into spontaneous violence. Maybe he is a problem for the warband or for the little group that you've got going on. He needs to be shackled or he needs to be contained every so often. It's kind of fun. And also you have the tensions between the gods as well. So you can have like a little band that has a Slanesh worshipper and a Khorne worshipper, and they constantly bicker and fight and have a go at one another. It's that kind of thing. And of course you have to bear in mind, this is unusual for an RPG because it's all bad guys. It's all bad guys. So it's not like Dungeons and Dragons where you're trying to cooperate all the time. You can be really horrible. You can be trying to stab your fellows in the back the whole time, you know? You can have this other agenda. I mean, one of the tensions it introduces is this notion of rituals. So maybe one of your characters can be secretly leading all of the other characters into a sacrificial ritual. Without telling them.
Right, you've given me another idea for another future one then. Have you ever played Paranoia?
Yeah! Paranoia's ace!
Yeah! Imagine if you took Paranoia and put that into a 40k based
Well,
RPG.
that's so easy because, of course, that's so easy because it is kind of, you know, it's very, very redolent of 40k anyway. You know, it's a dystopian future. You can just have like a hive city that's run by an ancient computer from the dark age of technology.
Yep.
And that's it. It's so easy. It's so easy to do. Or like a little Mechanicum city that's maybe like a fiefdom. It's separate from the rest. It's been separated from the rest of the Imperium by a warp storm or something.
I love this as an idea. Oh, yes.
So easy. So easy.
See what you're missing if you're not on the Patreon.
Absolutely. And, friend computer. Friend computer. I love what a mean-spirited shit the computer is. I love what, how passive-aggressive it can be in the hands of the right dungeon master,
The thing that always gets me about friend computer, and it's the friend computer just wants you to be well fed.
Absolutely.
Friend computer just wants you to be clean.
Yes.
Friend computer will pay you the exact amount of money that you need to live every day.
Absolutely. You should
Friend
be grateful
computer.
to friend computer.
Tell friend computer about communism.
Yeah. I love the way as well you could stab other people in the back in Paranoia.
Mm-hmm.
You can try to convince the computer that the other person is a mutant or a commie or something like that. I love that. I think it's hilarious. It's one of the only RPGs I've ever played where you are expected to die.
Oh yeah. That's why you get clones.
You just over and over and over and over again. And it's just in the hands of the right dungeon master, it's how unfair and elaborate they can make the deaths. It's like an RPG of Lemmings.
Yes.
It's pretty much how it feels, isn't it? You could even hear the music in the background. In fact, if I was playing Paranoia, what I'd want is to hear the MIDI files from Lemmings. Exactly,
It's a really weird bit of synchronicity, this. But on the day that I bought my first copy of Paranoia, I saw Cube. The film.
Perfect.
And I just sat there going, wait a second, what?
This is the kind of thing that makes you think there's some actual poetry in the universe, yeah?
Yeah, it's why I'm a firm believer in synchronicity.
Although, Paranoia generally has more of a comedy bent than Cube does.
Well, Comedy Cube.
Comedy Cube, yeah. Not difficult.
No.
It could be done.
If anybody out there hasn't played Paranoia or looked into Paranoia, I can't recommend Paranoia enough.
There is a Let's Player that I follow on YouTube who does this sporadic campaign of Paranoia. It's like
really?
Sometimes it's years between videos, but they're lots of fun. His name is Kikoskia. Go and check out his Paranoia campaign. It's hilarious. It's very well run. And Kikoskia is himself an actor, so he does the computer very, very, very well. Okay,
I'll have to look into that one.
Yeah, go take a look at that.
Because I don't think people understand how much I love Paranoia.
No, but
and also the game. Yes.
Yeah, and that too. Yeah, but this is the thing about the 40k universe and about the Age of Sigmar. Increasingly, I have to say, it's the fact that you can do this, that there is space for you to just tailor your armies in such a weird and interesting way, and to play in a weird and interesting way. I mean, even in 8th edition, I kind of like to have a game master who can drop little things in, who can alter things a little bit, who can mess about with stuff. I think that's loads of fun. I mean, it's built into the game now. It never used to be, but it's built into the game now that you have shifting dynamics. So you have tactical objectives that change or that shift from turn to turn, which fundamentally alter the dynamic of the game. And I think that's brilliant. I think that's loads of fun. And I love the army-specific ones. I think they're great fun. But if you have a games master, then that games master can not only can they adjudicate if they can just do away with any cock dice or anything like that, or any dispute, they can just do away with it, which is always good. They can introduce elements that you never expected. Like maybe they say something like, maybe you're fighting on one of the Fenrisian worlds, yeah? Mm-hmm. And the weather is initially pretty clement. But as you're fighting, come turn 3, maybe some hideous flesh-searing gale occurs. And suddenly all of the characters, say your human units that aren't armoured or aren't in sealed armour, maybe they have to take die 3 wounds or something. Maybe they have to take a toughness test or something like that. It's fun, Maybe some kraken erupts from under the ice and starts dragging people down. You can introduce stuff like this, and I love that. I will go for that above and beyond any notion of fairness or balance or competitiveness any day of the week. Any day. If a games master said to me oh, you know, roll against your initiative or something like that of that unit there. Oh, they failed the roll, so a kraken or some like hideous tyrannid creature erupts and drags them down under the ice. I'd be like, yeah, that's ace. That's brilliant. That's fantastic. I'm well into that.
You see, I know we were going to talk about something entirely different here.
Well, it's fine.
But I'm in full-blown RPG brain mode now.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people know this, but I have RPG'd since I was 13, I think. I love RPGs. I came through some of the golden age of RPGs, as I like to call it, that sort of early to mid-90s era, when every company ever was trying to get out an RPG.
That must have been quite difficult, actually, Adam, because they've never been as tabletop RPGs have never been as successful in the UK as they have in their parent land, which is obviously the US.
No, they haven't. But a lot of shops like, I can't remember the name of it, it predates Travelling Man, I think.
So quite a while back.
Yeah, whenever me and my mum used to go through to Newcastle, and we went through like maybe 3 times a year. This is before they built the new road, and it's only an hour and 40 minutes to get to Newcastle now. Which, I'm an old man. And yeah, I'd have saved my pocket money, and I would buy a new RPG. And I'd go whenever we went somewhere, and I'd see like a geek shop. It's like, oh, I'll go see what RPGs they've got in.
Yeah, what they're running at the minute.
Just what books I can buy. And I bought those. I mean, even me, who is not a Star Wars fan, I owned a Star Wars RPG.
Oh, the Star Wars RPGs are hilarious. I've got a couple of the books. Yeah. I mean, part of the problem with the Star Wars RPGs is the obvious. It's exactly the same thing you find in Black Crusade, actually. Everybody wants to be, obviously, a Chaos Space Marine of some sort, yeah?
Yes.
In the Star Wars RPGs, what does everyone want to be? They either want to be a Sith or they want to be a Jedi. And that's it. In fact, you know what most of them want to be? They do that fucking edgelord thing where they want to be like the anti-hero. They want to be the guy who fell to the dark side then came back. Yeah. And it's like, oh, come on. That's part of the problem with... It's not a problem with the RPGs as such. It's a problem with the setting. When you've got Jedi in a band... excuse me...
Sorry?
What are the other guys going to be?
Yeah. Do you know what I played?
What's that?
I played a Jawa.
A Jawa?
Not just any Jawa. I played a Jawa that really enjoyed building ridiculous weapons.
Brilliance.
By the end of it, my Jawa, who had 2 broken legs after he fell out of a Star Destroyer, floated towards another Star Destroyer. And for some reason, I thought, I'm in space. I'll just put my legs out and bump myself off it. That didn't work, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 13. Come on.
Yeah. Nobody role plays well when they're young, do they?
No. You need to have a very good idea of how physics works for a start. But by the end of it, I was a Jawa in basically a mech suit that was built out of an ATT.
Brilliant.
AT-AT. Just walking around there, OTD!
Absolute brilliance.
Firing down unholy death on everything that I walk by.
They're very difficult to run, aren't they, the Star Wars RPGs? You have to have a really, really good games master. Again, like Black Crusade, if you don't have a decent games master, it just doesn't work. It kind of falls apart because you've got... It's very difficult to operate. It's actually very difficult to roleplay. Like, for example, it's difficult to play as a Sith, in any of these RPGs. Like, you can't have...
You mean the good guys in Star Wars?
Yeah, exactly, yes. That's exactly what I mean.
The Sith are the good guys in Star Wars. Well, I don't care what anyone says.
You know what I've always wanted to see? I've always wanted to see, like, what happens when the Empire actually breaks down. Right? What happens to the rest of the universe? Is it the case that, like, suddenly all of the structure and the order breaks down, you get this hideous anarchistic state? And, the Jedi actually end up plunging the universe into chaos and anarchy?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great? I think that would be a very poetic end for the Star Wars universe.
So what you want to see is the Star Wars version of the Age of Strife?
Pretty much, yeah. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm not exactly like the biggest Star Wars fan, to be perfectly honest. I have about as much affection for it as anyone my age would, but it's not my favorite universe. But what I do like is I like it when it accidentally demonstrates its flaws. Like in the prequels, the prequels are just awfully written anyway. But
beautiful.
One of the things I love about the prequels is how evil the Jedi are.
Oh, yeah.
They are this autonomous religious institution that feels as though it can operate outside of the law, as though it can assassinate senators on a whim. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like, yeah, these are the good guys, right?
Me and Jai, friend of the show, Jai D, we sat and we watched the YouTube recuts of the original trilogy. And to be honest with you, they're a lot better. But it was at this point we kind of realised that the Jedi are the bad guys.
The bad guys, yeah. They are.
They are awful. They're a libertarian nightmare.
Absolutely. And also, they're idiots.
Yeah.
That's the worst of it. They are idiots. Anyone could have seen Palpatine's rise to power. Mm-hmm. It should have been obvious. You've got this Sith Lord who is like the Sith Lord, who is radiating with dark energy right in the center where they live. Right next to them. And it's like they didn't notice that. It's like,
I'm just an old man.
Yeah.
Oh, look at me. Pitu. Electric fire. Oh, no, it wasn't me. I'm just an old man.
I was like
Stabs person in heart.
Yeah.
No, you didn't see me do that. I'm just an old man. Doopy.
The only thing I like in the prequels is Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine.
Yeah. Oh, he's having a great time.
He does exactly what English actors do when they're in a bad film. He's just sort of like he's doing the Alan Rickman in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. It's basically
hamming it as much as he can.
Yep, I'll do whatever I like, and nobody's gonna stop me. I'm gonna do whatever I want. It's Michael Sheen in Twilight. It's that just completely ridiculously over the top thing where the directors are kind of like, oh well, he's British, he knows what he's doing. It's like, no, he's taking the piss.
It's the joy of knowing that someone's going to turn up and chew the scenery and then be a little bit surprised when they turn up with an actual knife and fork.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing in that film.
He's taking the piss, is what he's doing. It's brilliant. It's absolute brilliance. But I mean, that's kind of the fun of a Star Wars RPG for me, though. I wouldn't want to play it straight.
No.
I'd want to play it a little bit naughty, I'd love to introduce... I mean, it's very easily done. You can do it in D&D as well, where you introduce, like, a lawful good character as the antagonist. Mm-hmm. It's very easily done, because lawful good characters can be as much totalitarian bastards as a lawful evil character.
Yeah, if you play a lawful good character as being a paragon of virtue and nothing but, it's incredibly boring. Mm-hmm. But if you play it as somebody who sees heresy everywhere and who sees that, who... I once played with a guy who had a lawful good knight, right? And I always remember this because it was such a great idea. And I was in my 20s at this point, and it shocked me at how much he threw himself into it, to the point where I had to have a conversation with him at some point, just going, that was just you played the game. Oh, yeah.
It's a role.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
He played him full-blown fascist.
Yep.
And it was awesome.
Yeah.
Because he was a nightmare. He was an awful character. With the neutral evil guy that we had.
Yep.
The chaotic evil guy that we had wasn't as bad as the guy who was lawful good.
I mean, this is the fun of it, isn't it? This is the fun of it. You can have characters operating well within the restrictions of their morality. Well within the restrictions of, say, a lawful good character, and still being this blood-soaked, slaughter-inclined lunatic. You really can. That's the way of introducing a totalitarian character. He's a crusader,
Yes.
He slaughter the heathens, because they're evil. In his mind, they're evil. That's the fun of it. That is really the fun of it. And that's how you do a Jedi as well. You have the totalitarian Jedi who will not accept anything that he considers to be negative. inclined towards the dark side or whatever, who like takes over a little planet or a little society under the auspices of being its protector.
Something.
In fact, the Jedi are even worse.
Dark side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Jedi are... How did we get here? I think the Jedi are literally... If you play the Jedi as being just badass guys getting into fights with sabers of light, then it's boring.
Yeah, it's
If
dumb.
you want to play a Jedi as being my way is the only way that we are going to do anything,
Yeah.
that's when it gets more interesting.
That's when it
because
gets interesting.
Conflict. Yeah,
And not
conflict
only
arises
that,
from that.
Not only that, the Jedi have mind control powers, They can actually influence the states of people's minds, and that's very sinister.
Yeah.
That's very sinister indeed. You can do some, that's the tension, isn't it? Can I alter people's minds for the sake of morality or for the sake of their safety? That's when it becomes really complex. You can even have a guy who is he's not fervent, but he's trying to do his best, but he's doing bad things as a result. Trying his best, but he's finding the tension between the power that he has and the freedoms he should allow difficult.
That's the one just got in my head now is just these are not the droids you're looking for.
Exactly.
These are not the droids I'm looking for. Those were the droids we're looking for. God damn it, Simon! It's 200 degrees. I can't even hear what he's saying. I'm just agreeing.
Yeah.
My shift's over in 20 minutes.
But yeah, this is the interesting thing, isn't it? I mean, it's not a deliberate complexity of that universe, because that universe is very morally absolute. Certainly in the films it is, anyway. Within the restraints of the films, at least up until The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi completely turns it on its head and actually completely inverts it, which I really appreciate, I've got to say.
I haven't seen it.
As a non-fan, as someone who doesn't really care very much about this universe, the only reason I saw it, really, because I'm not that bothered, the only reason I saw it is because I saw butthurt fanboys having a go at it. That to me is it's like a flame to a moth. I have to see it. Then I have to know why people are getting butthurt. As a non-Star Wars fan, I'll tell you this, and I know I'm going to upset a lot of people with this. It's the best fucking Star Wars film. Eat that. As a non-Star Wars fan, the dialogue is way better than in any of the previous Star Wars films. The acting is way better. The framing is way better, and it introduces complexities.
Yeah.
It introduces complexities because who the real bad guys are in this film? It's a Jedi that we all know and love. Let's put it that way. It's somebody who's in the original films and who is not that interesting in the original films, but is damn interesting in this one.
Yeah.
Really genuinely interesting in this one. Yeah, it's
we're gonna get shot at many times.
We are. As a non-Star Wars fan, as someone who doesn't give two figs about this universe, this film is actually really good.
I do want to quickly just say here, these are our opinions.
Yes.
You are entitled to your own opinions, and please, if you want to have a discussion about it, I am more than happy to have a discussion.
Feel free, but
but let's not get silly.
The fact we have to say that disclaimer. I mean, this is a 40k podcast. Opinions are going to be rife anyway, because I mean, we could have sparked a debate with the Space Wolf Thousand Suns thing, because that happens all the fucking time. Magnus didn't do anything wrong, all of that kind of thing. It's actually way more complex than that. Magnus did do some stuff wrong. He didn't do it with bad intentions.
No, as the old saying goes, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
I mean, that is the
Magnus's
core.
case, it's the road to the realm of chaos is paved with lots and lots of... What are you doing, Magnus? No, put it down. Put it down. That is a heretical artifact, Magnus. Put it down.
Although...
Stop reading those books. The book is actually screaming when you turn its pages. Close the book, Magnus. Oh dear, no, you've just broken through the psychic shields. Magnus, naughty Magnus.
There is a very legitimate argument that he had no choice in the matter. He was always predestined to become the demon Primarch of Zeech.
Of course he was.
Because, this is Zeech we're talking about. Zeech had already seen that pattern of probability and had just guided Magnus towards it. He's a victim of fate, very much so. In fact, there's a lovely quote in the Thousand Suns Codex, and it's my absolute favourite. It's a Thousand Suns sorcerer. I don't have it to hand at the moment, but it's a Thousand Suns sorcerer, and he's talking about how I see myself before the rubric, and I see a puppet. I see a child that was being manipulated by the creature I am now. I can feel him, I can see him, and I can actually manipulate him from across time. Now I can feel the manipulations of my future self guiding me towards some other destiny. So the Thousand Sons, in their own weird way, with their own creations, they are manipulating themselves from the future, from their current state, to become what they are, to ascend to some other condition. You know?
Oh, wow.
It's mental.
They are the physical representation of a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, they're a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're a paradox. They are. It's mental. They've complexified them so much in recent days, recent years. They've complexified them beyond. And Magnus is like this too. I mean, we already know from the wider literature, Magnus is not this one entity. He's like the Emperor, you know, he's got multiple facets to his being. Whenever anyone looks at Magnus, even when he's mortal, when they look at him, they all see different things. They all see different things. Some of them see the Cyclops, and when I say a Cyclops, I mean like an ancient Greek Cyclops. They see this thing with an eye in the middle of its forehead.
Okay.
Some of them see the classic depiction of Magnus with the scarred one eye and the other that blazes like a star. Some of them see something entirely different. They see this fractal entity that's made of mirror shards and light. And that, of course, has been emphasized to the nth degree when he becomes a demon Primarch. So his aspects are all different, and they don't always accord with one another. They actually fight and war with one another. So he is an ultimate paradox, Magnus the Red. He's so complex. He's such a complex character. And you know what? Some of his shards are still out there. They haven't been incorporated into the whole yet.
That's cool.
So
what you're saying is that the old mini that they did for Epic is actually still
valid.
canon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's why they threw in, you know, that alternate face in the miniatures miniature that's got the old Cyclops face. Yeah. Whenever anyone looks at Magnus the Red, they all see something different. And
That's
he reacts
so cool.
and acts differently depending on like their preconceptions and what mood he's in at the time, you know, and all this stuff. It's so cool. I love that about Magnus. I absolutely love that. He's the most legitimately chaotic of the Chaos Primarchs, you know? Speaking of which, I mean, this is totally off topic, but there is something that...
We don't have a topic today, George.
I don't think we do.
Okay.
I don't think we do. But it's something I know you're going to love. I know you're going to love in particular. But by the way, guys, this is a massive-ass spoiler for anyone who likes the Fabius Bile books. So if you like those books and you haven't read the latest one, I think it's called Clone Lord, you might want to fast forward through this, okay?
Right, skip forward 15 minutes.
About 15 minutes, yeah? But... do you know, Adam, and ladies and gentlemen who don't care about spoilers, there's not just one Fulgrim out there.
What? No, I didn't.
Yeah. There's at least two. There's at least two.
Right?
In Clone Lord, what's established, and I love this about Fabius, is that he hates the Primarchs. Hates them. He hates them. He's trying to remove the Space Marines from their genetic legacies because he thinks that they're the source of their weakness, right? In his earlier days, obviously, that wasn't the case. He was trying to recreate the Primarchs to sort of perfect them, to lead them to a grander destiny. Most of those were destroyed, yeah? Most of them. In Clone Lord, he accidentally finds Fulgrim. He finds a clone of Fulgrim that wasn't destroyed, and it's Fulgrim as he was. It's perfect Fulgrim before his corruption. He is what Fulgrim could have been were it not for the influence of Slaanesh, were it not for the Leyran blade that corrupted him. And Fabius has this wobble because, of course, Fulgrim is like... he is this... part of his power as a Primarch is that he is charisma embodied. You can't deny him. You cannot defy him anything. And so Fabius keeps this clone. He actually takes this clone, and it's like a child. It's not fully developed, but it's getting there. It's fast getting there. And he's trying, he has this wobble where he's like, can I do this? Can I make this the fulcrum that should have been? Can I make this the one who will lead my legion away from corruption? And he tries, but it doesn't work. He sees, although it doesn't get corrupted, he sees in it, it's not necessarily in the Primarch itself, it's in the way the other Emperor's children react to it. They react to it, they just fall on their knees immediately. They can't think for themselves around it. They cannot operate for themselves around it. It is that genetic legacy is too strong. Fulgrim is too magnetic. He's too perfect. He's too pristine. Do you know what he does with him? He gives him to Trazyn the Infinite. He's like, the end of the book, it's so sad, because this version of Fulgrim calls Fabius Bile, he calls him father or something like that, and it's so sad. This Fabius is like, he fights against his own inclinations, and he says to Trazyn, if you have to take anyone, take him. And this clone of Fulgrim has this utterly betrayed look on his face, and Trazyn takes him, puts him in his museum. So
that's got to come back at some point.
It's got to come back. So you could potentially have a mortal, potentially loyalist Fulgrim coming back at some point.
That's one of the biggest brain-blowing there I've ever heard.
Can you imagine, though, how the demon Fulgrim is going to react to that?
Poorly, I think, would be the response.
Well, it could be poorly, or it could be, oh,
this is what I could have been. Oh, yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
I imagine the demon Fulgrim, and I imagine he's aware of its existence. I can't imagine he wouldn't be aware of its existence. He would see in it, like, such potential.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the only worthy lover, the only worthy partner to my excess, you know?
Is me, yeah.
Is me. You know, I could make this a twin. We could make this like, this could be the other demon Primarch of the Emperor's children.
Yeah.
Man. That meeting has to happen.
You could have Fulcrum Y and Fulcrum X.
Yeah, I kind of want to see that. I would love if they ran with it.
Yeah.
I would love if they ran with it, and if they released like twin Primarchs for the Emperor's children. Wouldn't that be awesome?
That would be incredible if it, much in the same way that they did for Marathi, the full-blown demon Primarch, and then the
mortal one.
Yeah, the human.
That'd be awesome.
I like that as an idea.
Awesome. But I love the tension that it introduces. I love the way Fabius reacts to this creature, because he can't withstand it. He finds it really hard fighting against his own inclinations. And it's because Fulgrim, of all of the Primarchs, all of them are supernaturally persuasive.
Yeah.
But with the possible exception of Angron. But Fulgrim is that to the nth degree. He could literally charm you to strip out of your own skin and hand it to him, you know? He's that kind of creature. He could have entire worlds fall on their knees in adulation to it.
Yeah.
So it does introduce this interesting tension. And I love the way that he hates him, but he loves him at the same time. It's very cool. It introduces complexities not only to Fulgrim, but to Fabius and to the dynamics of the traitor legions themselves. And that there is these possibilities for a kind of redemption out there, because that Fulgrim could have potentially led his legion on a very different path.
Well, that's one of the areas I was thinking about. Would Primarch Fulgrim actually do the "there for the grace of God go I"? You know, this is what I could have been. This is the other path that I could have walked.
I mean, what would the mortal Fulgrim do? Would he look at the demon Fulgrim and think that needs to be slain? That's an abomination, you know? Would that become the character dynamic for him?
Or would he look at him and say, that is my path,
that's my destiny.
That's all I've ever been meant to be, and that's how I'm going to get my revenge on Fabius.
Well, yeah, maybe so. And you have to think, like, Fulgrim in his demon form is even more beguiling than he was before. It's beyond anything now. You can't actually even be in the presence of Fulgrim without just losing your mind to him.
Well, then that leads to the question: can Fulgrim? Yeah, can human Fulgrim withstand demon Fulgrim?
It would be difficult.
Yeah,
I think it would be very difficult for him. And of course, Demon Fulgrim. I cannot wait for when they release him. And you know what? I know he's coming. Have you seen the recent thing on Warhammer Community where they released the covers of books?
Yes,
That are coming up. Did you see the Slaves to Darkness one?
I haven't actually.
It's one of the latest, and looks like it's going to be one of the last Horus Heresy books. It's called Slaves to Darkness, and it's a gathering. It's the gathering of the Demon Primarchs and of the Traitor Legions. And on the cover, you've got Horus, Fulgrim, Angron, and Perturabo, right?
Right.
Front and centre of that lot, really prominent, is a very clear picture of Demon Fulgrim. I think they're kind of hinting,
Okay. He's on his way.
Yeah, I think they're kind of hinting. He looks great, by the way. I have always liked the way they portrayed him in the Horus Heresy art book. I think he looks fantastic. But that book itself is really interesting to me because it really is near the end now. They're gathering their forces, they're coming together. All of the Demon Primarchs are in play now. They've all ascended. So apart from the ones who ascend after, like Perturabo and Lorgar, they actually don't ascend until later on.
No.
So it's there, it's in play,
It'll be interesting to see what Black Library does after the Horus Heresy ends.
Well, there's loads of potential. They could do the Scouring.
I actually want to go back and see some stuff about the Age of Strife.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That would be really interesting because that's like pre Horus Heresy,
It is, yeah. I'd like to see the what the Age of Strife was, the level of technology that existed, how the social aspects fitted together.
From what we understand, like because it's all from the Dark Age of technology, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It's it's almost on like Necron levels of brilliance, isn't it? Humanity really does sort of. It expands so far beyond its own abilities to contain. So that's where a lot of the machine spirits come from, the AIs and things. A lot of like the comic books have explored this. You've got like comics and stories where there are Adeptus Mechanicus campaigns who delve into some ancient world where there is some archaeotech. And they encounter these ancient humanoid androids and artificial intelligences that are, of course, heretical at this point. They shouldn't exist at this point. And you have these wonderful tensions whereby, is it a part of the Omnisia, or is it valid? Is it something I should want to destroy? I don't know.
Do you know what would be really cool? Is if they did something where, I don't know, there's some kind of archaeological dig, and at the very bottom of it, they just find this giant bipedal machine. And they talk about it having 4 sets of weapons, and it's very elongated at the front. And basically, they find a way to get the Chaos Dreadnought from Space Crusade into current fluff. That would make me very happy.
That would be loads of fun. I mean, there's no reason why not. Haven't Forge World already done it?
Yeah, but it isn't quite.
It isn't quite there.
It's like the Contemptor class dreadnoughts.
Yeah.
They're meant to be the original Rogue Trader dreadnoughts, but they're not quite right.
No, well, the old Rogue Trader dreadnoughts are really weird, aren't they? Like the Imperial one is based on a cat, bizarrely, and the Chaos one is based on a snake.
Yes.
I actually really like the old Chaos one, with the really organic looking one.
Yeah. With it's big frill coming over the top.
So weird. What I like about it though is those have come full circle. We went through Second Ed, where you had the very mechanical Chaos Dreadnought. The very mechanical Chaos Dreadnought, which I like a lot, but it was a son of a bitch to put together.
The walking fridge.
Yeah, the walking fridge. You could actually stick magnets on it, couldn't you?
Yes.
Either the early editions were lead, and the later editions were white metal. Cost a bomb. Absolute nightmare to put together. And then you've got the Hellbrutes now, which I love, by the way. It's one of those adaptations to remove... So you don't just have, like, Dreadnoughts, Chaos Dreadnoughts, Elder Dreadnoughts, Orc Dreadnoughts, So you've got, like, the Killer Cans, and you've got the Wraith Lords, and that kind of thing now. You've got the Hellbrute for Chaos, and I love the fact that they've really removed it from being a Dreadnought.
Yes.
It's not really a Dreadnought anymore. It's this hideous, demonically infused semi-living engine. And if they, when they started to release little like downloadable fluff books from the Black Library that had like the full fluff of these things, the book on Hellbrutes is absolutely fantastic because it's gross. It's completely body horror. The way it describes like the Chaos Space Marine torso being inserted and then the machine basically almost devouring them. All of these organic pipes and tendrils start to drill and burrow through the corpse and sort of like pump into its nervous system so that it just goes insane with agony. It's absolutely brilliant. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I don't think I've actually talked about it, but I've been working my way through the I've forgotten its name. The Beast Arises books.
Oh yeah.
Of late. I know it's a bit of a jumping conversation.
No.
It ties together. And
it's very topical actually because the orcs are on their way.
They are indeed. I can't help myself. I need an orc army.
I'm really excited. I've never collected them. But I've always liked them.
Yep.
You know?
But the knowledge of what 40k has been doing with its armies and the idea that the orcs might run down that path again, and I think
it's all right at this point, expecting the codices to be good.
Yeah.
Because even the ones that are not as good are still good.
Yes. Yes.
And the ones that are brilliant are out of this world stunning. Mm-hmm. Like the best those armies have been.
And I think that's possibly what might happen with the orcs because, oh god, Prime Orc. I can't get enough of that pun. It is the best thing.
It's the best, and I want to see I want to see what Thraka looks like as a Prime Orc.
Yeah,
I really do. I mean, I'm wondering where they're going to go with him. Because there are two very different versions of him, obviously, at the moment.
Yes.
There's the old one, which I really like, the little squat sort of warlord guy, who's very comical indeed. He's actually a lot smaller than a lot of the other orc miniatures out there.
Well, yeah, because orcs got big, and he's now the smallest orc there is. Which you can have a load of fun with.
Yeah. And then you've got the third Ed one, which is the big boxy one that I don't like very much, that doesn't really have a great deal of character to it.
No, there isn't a huge personality to him, which...
It's a shame, really, because they released him for the Third War of Armageddon campaign, yeah?
They did, yeah.
And they released the Commissar Jarek miniature with him, and the Commissar Jarek miniature is really good.
Yes, but Jarek is always going to be good, because Jarek is one of my favourite things in 40k.
I like him a lot.
Bar none.
I like him a lot.
I love the idea that Jarek can't die because all the orcs want to fight him.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant. So he's sustained by the orcs' psychic hatred of him. Or rather, not their hatred. They don't hate him, but their admiration for him, I suppose. Yeah. Their martial respect for him.
Mm-hmm. The idea that sort of every orc on Armageddon wants to have a go at fighting Jarek.
Yeah.
And because there's millions upon millions of orcs on Armageddon, he can't die because all of them want to fight him.
Well, it's the only explanation that makes any sense, really, doesn't it? Because he was an old man when he first fought Thraka. He was an old man then. He's ancient at this point. Yeah. He's absolutely ancient. I mean, I have a real soft spot for the original miniature of him. I really like it. You know, the big talon.
That gun.
Yeah.
That gun with the sort of demonic skeleton wrapped around it. Oh, it's so good.
I mean, what they did with the new one is they pared him down a little bit. They made him more sort of grim military looking, and that's good too. I quite like it, you know. But I wish they'd given him a Thraka miniature to face off against that was a bit more like, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I'd really like them to see, or what I'd really like to see them do, is do a Thraka and a Jarek that fit together. Yeah. So even if you didn't, you could buy them and not play them, but have them fitted together like somehow.
A diorama.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
So I would love to see that because I think that's what these two need. They are at this point they've got to be the longest running characters in 40k.
Well, they've got one of the best central tensions, don't they? I mean, there aren't many. There aren't many sort of arch enemies in that regard in 40k. Certainly not ones that are still present. I mean, most of them, one or the other, are gone at this point. It's like Magnus and Logan, Magnus and Leman Russ. You know.
Were you about to say Magnus and Logan Blaze? Because that would just be weird.
I was going to say Logan Grimnar actually, but it's not quite the same. Not quite the same. At the moment, Russ is absent, so you can't really have that. But yeah, they really, and I love the dynamic between them. You know, the fact that Jarek is this little old guy, and that Thraka is this enormous orc. Mm-hmm. I love that. I absolutely love that, and the fact that they kind of really respect one another.
Yes, I mean, Jarek hates Thraka to the point of obsession.
Yeah.
But admires the fact that Thraka can do all this with orcs.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favourite bits in the older stories of him is where he's trying to talk to the rest of the Imperium. He's trying to talk to, like, the rest of the Imperial Guard as they were back then. He's trying to say, look, these are not animals, all right? Not under this guy. They're not. They are a different force. They are organised. He's clever. He's cunning. You know, he's a tactician as well as a monster. You've got to respect him in this regard. You can't fight them like you do normal orcs.
Yeah.
You know.
I need to try and dig that little short story out. Actually,
That's
a really good one.
It's really good. I remember reading that and really enjoying it.
I think it was in a White Dwarf.
It was in the White Dwarf where I think the orcs had just come out, and where you were just starting to get that story of Thraka and
Jarek.
Jarek, yeah, had a brain fart there. Yeah, and it was really interesting, really good read. There was a battle report, if I remember correctly, where you had like an orc army led by Thraka and an Imperial Guard army led by Jarek, where they faced down, you know? I mean, one-on-one, Jarek can't stand up to Thraka.
No,
He can't.
no, of course not.
But that's not what he's there for. He's kind of more like a force multiplier. You know, he's an image. He's very like Marnius Calgar. You know, he's an image of the Imperium incarnate, you know?
Yes.
And he bolsters his troops to rally. That's kind of what he's like. He's a bit like Solar Macarius used to be when he was still a thing.
Good God, yeah.
I mean, is he still around? Do they even talk about him anymore?
I don't think so. Not to my knowledge, anyway. Nothing I've seen.
That's so weird, because what happened? Because he was like, for a little while, he was the equivalent of Abaddon or Marnius Calgar in an Astra Militarium army.
But he was the golden child, wasn't he?
Well, quite literally, when you look at, you know, the armour and everything.
Yes, true, yeah.
So what happened there?
I don't know.
He seems to have just sort of, I mean, he's still in the background, because, of course, there's the whole Macarian Crusade, you know, it's part of the background. So where did he go?
I will have to do some research into that one, because I don't actually know.
Did he die or something? Was he killed or something?
Or it could just be the way that a lot of sort of famous characters are going at the moment, where they're getting replaced by things like the Primarchs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit like one that used to be in the Dark Elder Codex, REUPLOAD, the Decapitator. He's still in the background, but you can't play as him anymore. The Mandrake that seems to be like the Lord of the Mandrakes, that seems to be enacting some sort of weird ceremony where he's stealing the skulls of his enemies, and if he gets so many, something awful is going to happen.
I wonder if Ragnar Blackmane's still going to be playable.
I don't know, you know, because he faded into the background when Logan Grimnar became a thing.
Yeah.
He may just become a generic Wolf Lord. You know, it may just be that, oh, well, you can create a Wolf Lord, and that's Ragnar Blackmane, you know?
Yeah. Bit of a shame.
Bit of a shame, because for the longest time, he was the figurehead of the Space Wolves, wasn't he? And
He was.
Logan was actually just a character in the background.
He was, yeah.
I always remember, like, reading about the first War for Armageddon, the one where Angron sweeps through with his demons and his world eaters and whatnot, and Logan earns a salute from Angron because of how well he fights and how well he bolstered the defences.
Man. There's nothing better than watching just people who hate each other give respect.
Well,
it's one of those things I love to bits.
How the hell do you earn the respect of Demon Angron? I mean, he must have been having a lucid moment. He must have just been having a lucid moment at that point, you know. Because he's even more insane as a demon than he is as the normal Primarch, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I love it.
I suppose it depends on how much destruction you've done on the battlefield.
I suppose so. Logan must have been fighting like a beast that day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a lot of entrails you've spread around.
Yeah,
well done,
sir. Well done, you know?
You have fed my lord for weeks to come.
This is a point.
I've done what?
Yeah, this is a point. Maybe that's it. Maybe he just appreciates the ferocity with which he fought, you know? There is this wonderful thing. It reminds me of in Betrayer, which I go on about all the bloody time. The Aaron Dembski-Bowden book, The Betrayer. There is this whole thing in it where there was a point before the heresy occurred, before any of the Primarchs turned traitor, where the Space Wolves encountered the World Eaters. They were sent to sort of bring them to heel because of their excesses, yeah? And they face off, and you never get a clear picture of who won. It's really weird. It's like this skewed memory that Angron has. What we know is that he lays Logan out flat. They fight one-on-one, and he absolutely lays Logan out flat. But he's telling the story to Lorgar, right? And Lorgar's listening, and he's saying, "You're an idiot, Angron. You're an absolute idiot. You think you won, don't you?" And Angron says, "I did win. I laid him out. I bloodied him. I won." And Lorgar pinches his nose and sighs and goes, "What happened after, Angron?" And he says, "Well, his whelps dragged him from the battlefield." And he says, "Yes, yes, that's the point. His sons came to his aid. They are so loyal to him. They came to his aid. What did your sons do? They stayed away from you because they're terrified of you. You know, He won. He made the point, you know? And Angron can't get it. Angron just cannot get it. That Logan kind of made a point through his defeat, you know?
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's a really cool moment. And it shows you Lorgar has fallen at that point. But he still has enormous respect for his brothers, even the loyalist ones. Because he says, it's a brilliant bit of strategy that he played there. It's absolutely brilliant. He was trying to show you, you idiot, you know? And you're so dense that you can't get it, you know? It's really kind of cool, and it shows you how blinkered and how twisted Angron actually is, you know, how broken the guy actually is. That he can't understand. He just cannot see beyond that he won the initial contest.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that is really cool. I like that a lot.
It's very cool, isn't it? I love that. I absolutely love those little twists and turns. The fact they still have some sort of bizarre fraternal regard for one another.
Yeah.
You know, even after they fall. I mean, you get that later on as well, because they all meet later on. They meet on Nuceria, Angron's homeworld. Roboot, hot on the heels of Calth. So after the Word Bearers have basically destroyed his entire empire and poisoned it to the nth degree with warp energy, he's pissed. He's really annoyed. So he turns up on Nuceria, where Angron and Lorgar are enacting a massacre. And they fight. All of them fight. It's really quite cool. And while they're fighting, they're sparring ideologically as well as physically. Mm-hmm. And Roboot's contempt for Lorgar is unbelievable.
Well, yeah, the ultimate pen pusher.
Yeah, hates him. Oh,
yeah.
God, he hates him. If there are two, diametrically opposed of the Primarchs, it's probably those two. They really hate one another. But Lorgar doesn't hate him. That's really interesting. Lorgar, or at least he proclaims not to.
No, Lorgar wouldn't hate him.
No.
Lorgar would just see him as just something that exists over there that isn't worthy of my time or effort to even think about. Oh God, why does this flea keep biting me?
Yeah.
And now this flea's bites have now become so bad I might have rabies.
Well, what you find is that he's manipulated Roboot into that fight, because what he's trying to do is orchestrate the warp so that he can focus it on Angron. He's trying to make Angron ascend. He's trying to force demonhood on him.
Right.
And that's what he ends up doing, ultimately. That's the battlefield where Angron ascends. And it's awesome. Roboot is nearly dead by the time Angron is done with him. He's actually has to be dragged away from the battlefield. And Angron ascends in this warp storm of blood and flesh, and it's like this moment of absolute insanity. You know what's really interesting, though? He doesn't even know who Khorne is at that point.
Oh, that's awesome.
He doesn't even know what it is. He doesn't know what's happening to him. Lorgar orchestrates it. And he says, I mean, obviously he does it for lots of different reasons, but one of the reasons he proclaims is because he wants to save him. Because the butcher's nails are killing him.
Yeah.
The butcher's nails in Angron's head are different from the ones the ones that are derived from them, that are in his son's heads. Those ones are not killing the World Eaters. They're just driving them mad. The ones in Angron's head are killing him. Slowly. By and by. And that's...
I remember when Butcher's Nails came out, the... Stuart Murray, who has been on the show way back in the beginning of it, actually, which was a year ago. Happy anniversary, George.
Oh God, no, really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
We've been doing this a year, believe it or not.
God,
it's kind of freaky.
That is freaky.
It really is. I remember when that book came out, getting a load of messages from Stu, just going, "I've just read this book, and oh my God, all of this and this and this and this and this and this and this." And it was just this giant message, and it was.
Yeah.
I was so pleased that something had happened that set him off into this fever.
Well, I've got to say, those books by Aaron Dembski Bowden, Angron is probably one of the least interesting Primarchs to me. Probably one of the least interesting, because he's kind of just straight down the line, you know?
Yeah.
You know what you're getting with Angron. Those books make him interesting. They actually make him really complex and fun to read about, and really sympathetic. Really sympathetic. You really understand what this guy has been through and how he became what he became. He really didn't have any choice in the matter. He really didn't have any choice. He landed on a world where he was taken and he was mutilated. You know, his mind was mutilated. Who knows what he could have become? What if he'd landed on Macragge instead of Roboot? And what if Roboot had landed on Nuceria? You know?
You know what I'd like to see? I would like to see a what-if series.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Well, they did do something like this on the Bolter and Chainsword once. There was this little thing called the Dornian Heresy, where they rewrote the Horus Heresy so that Rogel Dorn was the one that the Chaos Powers spoke to.
That's cool.
It was really interesting. It was really cool. What I liked most of all was seeing the yellow all chaosed up. It looks really good. They had like this dirty off yellow with black banding for the Imperial, like not the Imperial fists anymore, the fists of chaos as they became, and it was really cool. It looked great, you know.
I will hunt that down and share it into the Fluffenhammer group, because I think that could be quite interesting.
It's quite
to
fun
look through.
if you go onto the Bolter and Chainsword and look in. I'm not sure what sub forum it's in, but if you type in the Dornian Crusade or the Dornian Heresy in the search bar, you should find some stuff. It's really quite cool. Because you've got the Primarchs all going different ways, you know? All doing different things. I think in that one, Mortarion didn't turn traitor. And I don't think Fulgrim did either.
Okay.
But other characters did. I think that Sanguinius ends up turning. Oh, because he's on the edge anyway. I mean, he's much closer than most people think. There is a book, I can't quite remember which one it is, but it's the first Horus Heresy books to focus on the Blood Angels. And he even has visions of what he looks like as a demon Primarch in that. You know, the Chaos Powers do whisper to him. And of course, he's influenced by them because he's got wings. He looks like a demon Primarch anyway.
There's a Dornian Heresy wiki.
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome.
There you go. So, yeah, I mean, any one of them really could have gone any which way or the other. It just depends on where they landed and how fervently the Chaos Powers whispered to them. There's opportunity for all of them to fall, which I really like.
Yeah.
I think the most difficult to corrupt would have always been Roboot.
Yes, because, as I say, he is the pen pusher. He is the logic and nothing but logic.
He would have been very difficult to corrupt indeed. They would have had to have played to his, ironically enough, to his sense of order. They would have had to have said something like, "We are the only ones who can bring you this. We are the power that can unite humanity." You know?
Oh,
They
no,
would've-
according to this, the Ultramarines did 4.
Oh, did they? Oh,
Yeah.
cool. That's
Oh,
interesting.
they look awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, yes. I like that.
Very cool
I like that.
indeed. I'm going to have a look at that. I mean, I'm not going to be able to...
The ones that turn traitor with the Blood Angels, the Ultramarines, the Space Wolves, the Dark Angels, the White Scars, and the Raven Guard.
Well, the Dark Angels are easy. They're
yeah.
chaos anyway. You know, they're traitor anyway.
And Loyalists are World Eaters, Thousand Sons, Word Bearers, Emperor's Children, and Iron Warriors.
Loads of fun. Really interesting.
Oh, the Iron Warriors look cool.
What, as imperialists, as good guys?
Yeah,
you know?
they look cool.
I mean, it is loads of fun. I'm surprised they haven't kind of introduced it as a sub-game, you know, as an alternative history.
Yeah, this is cool. I like this a lot. I like this a lot. This is a whole new rabbit hole for me to fall down.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Oh, God, the Chaos Space Wolves look amazing.
Well, they would, wouldn't they? Chaos Space would be fantastic.
They are incredible. This is something I didn't need.
Although, you know, once again, they're not that far off, are they?
No, they're not. But
with the Wolfen.
Yeah, but
I mean,
the
come on.
design of the armor is gorgeous. Dark Angels look pretty much how you'd expect.
Yep.
Blood Angels are cool. So this show has been about absolutely nothing, yet has been about absolutely everything. So that's cool. Next time we will be talking about the Black Legion,
Absolutely.
I think.
Oh,
which was the idea of going into this
That was the
one.
idea, but it didn't really happen.
It's what happens when you have a free and loose conversation-based podcast.
Absolutely.
You know,
and this is the fun of it. This is why people like listening to it. And we, you know, there's so much to talk about. There's so much fun out there. But we will get onto the Black, because they are coming, ladies and gents. We know this.
Yeah.
And I, for one, cannot wait. I'm just waiting to see. I'm waiting to see the pictures, the little grainy pictures of the Chaos Terminators and the new Chosen and all that stuff, and the new Abaddon.
Yep, I can't wait for the new Abaddon. So, normally at this point, what we do is we throw out what we've been working on. But today I want to do something a little different to end the show. Because today would have been the 70th birthday of Terry Pratchett.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So, in honour of that, I have a little quote that I want to finish off today's show with. And that quote is simply, "Why do you go away? So that you can come back. So that you can come back to the place you came from with new eyes and extra colours. And the people there see you differently, too. Coming back to where you started is not the same as never leaving." And with that, goodbye everybody. Thank you for listening.